There are people, the kinder you are to them, the more you lose yourself. You've always believed that kindness is one of life's greatest virtues, haven't you? But at a certain point in life, you begin to see things differently. That misplaced kindness can quietly become a double-edged sword. And the most painful part? It's not always strangers who take advantage of your goodness. Often it's the ones you know best, family, friends, neighbors, who are most likely to cross the line. In your later years, when you're more easily exhausted, more emotionally open, and longing for peace more than ever, being kind to the wrong people doesn't just wear you down. It can rob you of your inner calm. If you care about deep, real-life lessons on mental health, seeing and finding happiness, hit subscribe to Life in Words, because every video here is a gentle reminder that you deserve a peaceful life, no matter your age. The truth is, the ones who hurt you the most are rarely strangers. More often, it's the familiar faces that soften your heart the fastest. A relative who calls only to complain. An old friend who always makes you feel less than. A neighbor whose well-meaning advice lingers in your mind for days. At first, you think it doesn't hurt to be a little kinder. But after each conversation, you feel emptier, more drained, and a little less like yourself. The problem isn't your kindness, it's where you've placed it. In this video, you'll uncover who's quietly draining your life energy, why you no longer need to carry emotional weight for others, and most importantly, how to say no firmly, without cruelty, and stay kind to yourself. Keep watching, because sometimes true freedom begins with a single word: no. 1. The constant taker. Have you ever known someone where every time the phone rings, you already know they're going to ask for something? Linda, 72, used to believe that helping others was the glue that held her relationships together. Whether it was picking up the grandkids, house sitting, or lending money, she was always there after just one call. My daughter's overwhelmed. She just broke up. No one else can watch the kids. It's just a small thing, Mom. Can you help? That's what they said. And Linda would always smile and say yes. But when she slipped and hurt her ankle and needed a ride to the doctor, no one answered. They were busy. They were tired. They were not available right now. Her kindness had turned into obligation, her love into a tool. The constant taker never tells you outright what you must do. They're just used to you always saying yes. So when you finally say no, they act like you've betrayed them. That's not family. That's a one-sided relationship where you carry the emotional load, the time, the sacrifices, and they only take, never give. At this stage of life, you don't need to prove your goodness anymore. You've lived long enough to know true love doesn't ask you to exhaust yourself. And people who truly care will show up, not only when they need something. Set boundaries. Learn to say no, not because you are cold, but because finally, you've chosen to love yourself first. 2. The chronic critic. Have you ever met someone who always finds something to criticize no matter what you do? Thomas, 81, is still sharp, independent, and loves gardening. He was excited to invite his daughter over to see the garden he had just transformed. Rows of neat vegetables, ripe tomatoes, and blooming lavender everywhere. But the first thing she said was, "Dad, that trellis is crooked. Why didn't you just hire someone to do it for you?" No compliment, no recognition, just a cool judgment and a quiet shake of the head, like she was disappointed. Don't get it wrong. Chronic critics aren't always bad people. They might be family, old friends, even people you once looked up to. But the problem is, they make you question yourself even when you're doing something good. Their words, sharp like tiny blades, slowly chip away at your confidence until you stop trying altogether. You stop wearing what you love, because they said it looked strange. You stop sharing your feelings because they always had a logical reason to dismiss them. You pull back from things that bring you joy just because they didn't approve. And slowly you become a smaller version of yourself. At this stage of life, you deserve peace, not self-doubt. You don't need to live to please anyone. No one has the right to make you feel like a failure just because they refuse to see your worth. Real love doesn't belittle. So if someone keeps making you feel like you're never good enough, don't argue, don't explain, just step back to protect your peace. 3. The guilt tripper. Few things are more exhausting than having to apologize for things that aren't wrong. Eleanor, 78, had always been a devoted grandmother. She looked after her grandkids almost full-time so her daughter could focus on work. But one day she felt completely worn out. When her daughter called, asking for a few more days of babysitting, Eleanor gently replied, "Sweetheart, I'm feeling a little tired this week. I'd like to rest." Silence. Then a cold text followed. "I just needed a few more days. I guess I was wrong to count on you." No anger, no shouting, just a few carefully chosen words, enough to make Eleanor feel like a terrible mother. That's what emotional manipulation through guilt looks like. They don't force you outright, but they make you feel wrong for saying no. "If you don't come, I don't know what I'll do. You're not coming to the birthday, the kids will be so sad. You're the only one who doesn't care about family." Small comments like these slowly eat away at you. You start doing things you don't want to. You give up rest, health, and sometimes even self-respect just to keep the peace. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, if a relationship constantly makes you feel guilty for taking care of yourself, is that still love? Old age is not a time to repay invisible debts. You have the right to rest, the right to say no, the right to be respected without guilt. Real love doesn't make you feel bad for honoring your limits. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You just need to protect your heart by setting clear boundaries. Remember, saying no doesn't make you selfish. Saying no means you're surviving in the kindest way possible to yourself. 4. The secret competitor. Competition in old age might sound odd, but it's one of the most silent and painful wounds many people don't even know how to name. Janice, 76, was excited when she signed up for an art class at the community center. She had no dreams of becoming a famous painter. She just wanted a quiet space to relax and enjoy this chapter of life. Then she met Linda, a fellow classmate. At first, Linda seemed friendly. She often complimented Janice's work. "Oh, your colors are so bold. Looks like something a child would paint. I never would have thought to make the leaves purple." Very creative. These half-praise, half-critique comments made Janice smile awkwardly at first. But over time, they chipped away at her confidence. She began to dread the moment Linda would walk past her paintings. And worse, she stopped showing her work altogether. Secret competitors don't need to win big. They just need to make you feel small. They're experts at making you second-guess yourself. When you share something good, they respond with a shrug. When you talk about a small success, they immediately one-up you with something bigger and better. When you shine, they make harmless jokes that cut like a knife. And the most painful part? Many of them are old friends, family members, sometimes even your partner. But at this age, you don't need to compete with anyone anymore. There are no medals for the oldest piano player or the most talented grandma in town. Life is no longer a race. It's a journey back to yourself. You have the right to be happy when you're happy. You have the right to be proud when you have done something well. You have the right to shine without asking for permission. If someone makes you shrink just so they can feel comfortable, then maybe it's time you stepped into the light and let them stay behind in the shadow of their own insecurity. 5. The passive-aggressive manipulator. They don't yell, they don't insult, but somehow you always walk away from them feeling vaguely guilty. George, 83, lives alone since his wife passed. He's independent, rarely complains, but sometimes he needs help with small things, changing a light bulb, cleaning out the garage, getting to doctor's appointments. He often asks his neighbor Doug, who once has said, "Anything you need, just call me. I'm happy to help." But every time George does ask, Doug has a reason. "Oh, I'm super busy." "Can't your kids do that?" "You're still not able to handle that yourself at your age?" If George stays quiet, Doug calls him cold and distant. If George pushes back, Doug just smiles and says, "I was just joking. You're way too sensitive." And over time, George starts to feel guilty just for needing help. That's how passive-aggressive manipulation works. They never say no outright, but make you feel like asking was too much. They never openly criticize, but plant little seeds of doubt about your worth. They never forbid you, but use silence, glances, and half-jokes to control your choices. You start walking on eggshells, afraid to upset, offend, or disappoint them. And in the end, you're the one left exhausted. But real kindness doesn't make you shrink. Real care doesn't make you feel small. And real help doesn't come with emotional punishment. Growing old is not the time to keep playing the nice one, just to keep peace with people who don't let you be yourself. Remember, the greatest kindness is the one you give to yourself. You don't have to apologize for wanting respect. You don't have to stay silent to protect someone else's comfort. If someone makes you feel guilty every time you live according to your own needs, then maybe it's time to live bolder and breathe easier. You've just walked through the journey of discovering 5 types of people you no longer need to be kind to in your later years. Not because you've grown selfish, but because you've lived long enough to understand. Your kindness is precious, and not everyone is worthy of it. At this stage of life, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to keep pleasing everyone. You don't have to carry relationships that only weigh heavy on your heart. Live more lightly. Stay close to those who make you smile just by thinking of them. Let go of those who make you question your own worth. True peace doesn't come from sweet but empty words. It comes from a quiet heart, a heart that no longer needs to try so hard to be accepted. And if today you've realized that there are people you need to let go of, that there are places where your kindness no longer belongs, then you've taken the first step towards something beautiful, being kind to yourself. If this message touched you, subscribe to Life in Words. Here, every story, every sentence is a quiet gift for your heart and your soul. Because we don't just share words, we offer a space to heal, to reflect, and to gently return home to yourself. You deserve peace, you deserve softness,